What happened? Forbes 30 under 30.
I had high expectations from Stanford, but Stanford exceeded my expectation.
What has been the thing that you did not expect that you would see here?
If I would be able to gel with people from different countries,
Yes.
but I feel at home. And the campus, I haven't seen anything like this before. It's
Yes.
so beautiful, so peaceful.
It is.
I feel I can do whatever I want. I have that confidence just because I came here. Yeah.
And then you pulled in like almost 3 all-nighters back to back
Three
for your
all-nighters back
MBA
to back.
application.
Yes.
And then did you get to all the schools that you wanted to get in?
I got into schools.
That's an insane statistic. Riyazat Chaudhry, hi. Good
Hi.
morning. Welcome to MBA Odyssey podcast. I'm really happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting, Saleh. I'm super excited to talk to you about life.
Man, I was very impressed when I talked to you first when we went on that small walk
Yeah.
in Kyoto, I think. Yeah, was it Kyoto, Japan?
Yeah.
In one of the trips we took before starting our MBA at Stanford. And it was a very rainy day. We were going out to like a very nice neighborhood in Kyoto, pretty old neighborhood. It was a few monuments there and all that stuff. And then we wanted to take some pictures and chat. And then there I got to know a little bit more about you. But it wasn't until we actually came to the campus and then we started randomly running into each other in the dining halls that we started talking a little bit more. And then it was very interesting for me to talk to you and learn a little bit about your past, the things you've done. And I've always been impressed. And when I was thinking about this podcast, you were one of the first people that came to my mind. I put you on my list. And yeah, finally I got the chance to talk to you. I'm really happy about that.
Same here, man. I mean, it's been a privilege getting to know you, especially in Japan before we joined Stanford this fall. And yeah, I mean, I like our friendship, you know. We just keep sending each other Instagram reels for no reason. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we met so early in the JSP journey.
So like every Odyssey, your Odyssey started at home. Yeah, I know you're from Bangladesh, and you're one of the very, very, very few people at Stanford GSB, in the history of Stanford GSB that has come from Bangladesh. Tell me a little bit more about your home, where you grew up, how it was, your formative years early on.
Sure. So I was born in Chittagong, which is like the second largest city in Bangladesh. I did my schooling there, and then for my college, I came to Dhaka. My entire family moved to Dhaka, and yeah, since then we have been living in Dhaka for the last 15 years. I have like two brothers and a sister, and yeah, I mean my both of my brothers, they live with my parents now, and my sister, she's in the UK with her family.
Nice.
And she has like two kids there.
That's awesome. Have you ever visited?
I did. I went there twice. I mean, my niece, she's my favorite person in the entire world,
I can imagine.
and they're hopefully coming next year. Yeah.
Yes, that's awesome. Tell me, like, what is the statistics of Bangladeshis in Stanford GSB?
It's very low. I think I don't have the exact number, but in the last 10 years, probably 3 to 4 people
Yes.
that came to Stanford. Yeah, especially to the MBA program.
Yeah, I'm just asking
Yeah.
about the MBA program.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think 3, 4.
I can imagine. And are you the only one in our class?
I am the only one in this cohort. Yes.
And then you spent your childhood in Bangladesh, in Dhaka, and then your university also there.
Yeah, I spent my entire life in Bangladesh. This is my first time living outside of Bangladesh. I've been to a lot of countries. I've done a lot of solo, traveling. I went to more than 20 countries, but I didn't live anywhere else before.
Okay, so it's for your first time living somewhere else. Tell me a little bit more about college.
Yeah, so I went to one of the, I guess the best private universities in Bangladesh, and I wanted to study business because I thought if I started business, I would be able to start my own company. So that was my motivation behind going to that school and studying BBA. But I mean, it was great. I learned a lot. Probably 4 of the best years of my life, where it was all about exploring different things, getting to know people, getting out of my going out of my comfort zone and trying new things. And yeah, but I ended up joining a multinational company after graduation because Even though my main goal was to learn how to start my own company, I don't think I was able to learn that in the university.
What year did you graduate? This I'm asking because I would just want to understand the ecosystem back in Bangladesh at that.
So it was 2016.
That you graduated
Yeah.
from school, yeah, and then you went to, as I said, you worked for a multinational company. For how many years was it? What company was it? Could you tell us a little bit more
Yeah,
about
so
that?
it was the second largest telecommunication company in Bangladesh. I worked in product. I worked as an entry level product manager, uh, and and yeah, I mean, it was very interesting for me to see how big companies work. Even though I worked there for just 2 years, I think I learned a lot that I was able to utilize later on when I was working on my own company, and also just seeing how the entire product circle, like product
Yes.
cycle, like starting from an idea to talking to the stakeholders, and then getting the financial approval, developing the product, just learning that journey. It was quite helpful.
So you graduate, you go to this multinational company, you start working there for a couple of years. Then at some point you end up being Bangladesh Forbes 30 under 30.
Yes.
What happens in between? Like, what do you do? Like, what do you get? How do you get there?
I always wanted to become an entrepreneur. So that was like my dream. I can talk about why that is my dream, but that's a separate question. So I worked for the company for 2 years. And then, I mean, out of nowhere, suddenly I got an email from my employer that they wanted to invest in their employees who had innovative business ideas. And it's just something, something incredible, because you don't see something like this happening in your day-to-day life, right? And I just joined that company. I worked there for 2 years, not even 2 years. I actually got the email 1 year after I joined, and then it was like a 1 year long process. And the moment I saw that email, I just felt like that was my opportunity. It was not quite obvious that it is going to be a good opportunity. It now feels like a great opportunity, but at that point in time, people were not sure what it was. And my colleagues, they were a lot of them were very, very skeptical. People who had ideas, they thought the company is going to steal their idea, or just exploit them and things like that. They were not sure if they wanted to apply. But I knew I wanted to do this, because I like taking chances. I'm not someone
Yes,
who always goes with safe options.
I can
So
imagine.
I knew I wanted to explore that option, and I immediately applied. I was already working on different ideas, exploring different ideas with my friends, or people I knew. But once I got this opportunity, I really worked on one space that I was really passionate about, and then we applied, and we got selected, and we got the first investment from them. Even before we had like a prototype or anything, it was just a deck, and just conversations with potential customers. That's it.
Why do you think the company did that? Was that an effort for corporate entrepreneurship and kind of a corporate venture?
Yeah.
Like, why do you think those decision makers made those decisions?
Number one, I think initially the motive was just like a innovative uh, employee benefit program,
Hmm.
where they were not necessarily looking for returns. They were just wanted to do something interesting that motivates innovative ideas among the employees.
Similar to what Google used to do, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, there were like 5 startups selected in the cohort, so they were
Hmm.
just or 5 employees selected. So they just wanted to see how it goes, and make decisions based on that. So it was quite open ended. They were not 100% sure, but I actually, I appreciate the fact that they took a decision based on just to explore,
Yes.
without knowing exactly what they're expecting or what the end goal is. They just wanted to, I think they also wanted to help the local startup community or the ecosystem grow.
Hmm.
That was another intention that they had.
Obviously, you were very successful. Tell us what the idea was. Like, how did it come to you? What did you do?
Yeah.
What was the inception of it? And how did it maybe go ahead and we know a lot of ideas pivots. Like, did it pivot? Did it not pivot?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about your idea and then what happened.
Me and my one of my partners, Jawad, we went to the same university. He was actually a year senior to me, and we went to the same club. We were part of the entrepreneurship club in the university, and we were always talking about different ideas. He had event management company before, even when we were like students.
Event management?
Event management,
Yeah.
and event management and marketing company, something that he was running full time, even when he was a student. But on the side, I mean, we would constantly talk about different ideas, random ideas. So this was one of the ideas we were working on. We were very passionate about the public transportation problem in the country. We didn't have a
Yeah.
set solution, but we knew that there's a huge problem there, and someone needs to do something. And it was actually Jawad who initially shared the idea that we can probably try to automate the public transportation system that the country had back then. So that was the initial thought or idea that we had, and we applied with that idea for the program. By the way, the my yeah,
Yeah.
employers incubator program. Um, but then we started talking to the bus owners, right? Our initial idea was to help them automate their processes, maybe launch an app that will let customers book rides, book seats, and things like that. Because in Bangladesh, there's no automation, there's no system. You don't even know what bus is gonna come at what time. We just wait, and just hope that
Hope for the
something's
best.
gonna come.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the initial idea, but then we started talking to these bus owners, and then we realized that they don't care. I mean, they're not willing to cooperate at all. They were earning money. They didn't need a different solution. They were happy the way things were. And one of the things that I learned very early when I was exploring different ideas was that it doesn't matter what idea you have in your mind. All that matters is if there's a need, if the customer you're trying to serve really want the product. In our case, it was the bus owners, right? Because they would be the ones paying us.
Yes.
Even though the problem is real, they were not willing to do this, right? So we just felt maybe it's not the right idea, probably not the right execution. So, but we kept thinking about, other options. So one idea that came to our mind was we can actually launch the service ourselves without partnering with these bus owners. But for that, I mean, we cannot do this with like proper buses, because if once you want to work with proper buses, you need route permit and
Yeah.
all these permissions, and there is like a union type thing, right? And
Yes.
they don't. You have to be within that. You have to be
Yeah.
part of the community. Otherwise, there's no way you can do it. And we also didn't want to do something that would require us to wait for other people to help us, or just be patient and just wait for 2-3 years. We didn't want to do something like that. We wanted to start up immediately. So we started thinking if we can launch the service with minivans, like 10 to 11
Yes.
seaters, because those vans they don't require any permission.
Initially, when you were thinking about this whole idea,
Yeah.
what was, like, just getting technical about it here? What was the main problem that you were trying to solve?
Initially, when we were exploring this space, the core problem was just the fact that we don't feel comfortable using public transportation. I never used public transportation in Bangladesh, and that was never an option for me. I never even thought about it. It's either you use your own car or you use like Uber or other ride sharing services. But it's sad that a country like Bangladesh, where there are like 200 million people, middle income people, they don't use public transportation at all. So that was the initial idea. But then, once we decided to launch our own service with minivans and all that, we started talking to potential users again. This time, not the bus owners, but people who are using the service, right? I was at the university that I went to. Uh, I used to go there every weekend, Friday, Saturday, and spend my entire day in the cafeteria talking to random people who didn't know me at all, and they were probably thinking this weird guy is coming up to us and just asking us
about buses.
random personal questions about how we commute and things like that. It was weird, but I don't know. I didn't care about it at all. We ended up talking to more than 700 people, not only from my university, but also from some other. I mean, we also talked to some office goers as well, in addition to university students, and that is when we realized that. I mean, we knew it always, but when we talked to more than 700 people, we realized that the problem is severe for women, and
This is severe for
yeah,
women.
it is severe. I mean, we all face the problem, but for women, it's like a huge issue. So that is when we decided to focus on. We made a crucial decision. We decided that we're going to focus on women only.
I just want to echo one point. we see a lot of successful entrepreneurs, especially the ones that sometimes come to Stanford and give talks, or successful venture capitalists. They say, know your customer, know the people that you want to serve, know the end user. And I think you really embodied that advice. You went out there, you talked to these people, the 700 people, 700 interviews, and then that helped you actually drill down your target audience.
Yeah.
And as you said, you managed to focus on women, and you found out the problem is a lot more severe for them. But could you explain to us why, like for the people who don't know Bangladesh or the lay of the land, like why would it be so much more severe for women?
Yeah, so I'll give you one statistic. A study done by Bragg shows that 94% women commuting in public transport um, have experienced physical, verbal, or some other forms of sexual harassment at least once. And it could be just a comment, and it happens even more because the buses are always crowded. They're always, 50% of the people are standing. There are not enough buses. So it
I have
makes
seen
sense.
videos,
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
footages. Yeah.
exactly. So it becomes even more challenging for women to commute. That was the main issue, and I mean, we all of us, the three co-founders that we are all men. We never had the intention to start a women-only solution. It was only we were not people who wanted to help the community. We wanted to start a proper business, right? That was the only goal that we had. But we felt the problem is so severe that even just from the business perspective,
Just made
that is
sense.
it just made perfect sense. And interestingly, we actually got the funding, not the funding, but the approval for funding from my company even before we changed the idea. So we then had to go back and tell them that we're going to focus on half the market, not the entire market, but still have a better chance of being successful and
Yes.
building a better company.
Because it was targeted.
Yeah, it was targeted. It was challenging. Initially, they were skeptical. Number one, because of the fact that we were changing it so early.
Yeah.
I mean, we just pitched probably passionately 2-3 weeks before, and then we go back and change the idea completely.
Yes.
And we also focus on a smaller market. But I think it was worth it. We took the challenge, we took the risk, and they understood, and they've been very supportive as well.
Now explain to me what the product ended up being. Like, what is the product?
We clubbed 10 to 11 people together in a single van, and then charged less than 1/3 the price of regular ride sharing. So that's the core value. Ride sharing services, they're amazing, right? But the only issue is middle income people cannot use ride sharing services every day twice, like to go to office or university and then come back in the evening, because it's so expensive. Otherwise, I don't think there would be a demand for service like that, like service like Shuttle, the one company that we started. On the other hand, so we wanted to create something in the middle. On one hand, ride sharing services were very expensive. On the other hand, public transportation was not safe, it was not comfortable. So we wanted to provide most of the conveniences of ride sharing services at a price.
The safety, the traceability, knowing who it is, authenticity, fantastic.
Exactly. At a price which is exactly not like public transportation, but similar to public transportation.
Still affordable.
Yeah, exactly. So we wanted to create a new category for people in developing countries, not only in Bangladesh.
Yes.
That was the end goal.
Some sort of an organized carpooling system.
Exactly. And it's not, people sometimes confuse this with Uber Poo.
Yes.
But the only difference is, in a densely populated city like Dhaka, if you take an additional turn, it will probably increase your trip duration by 45 minutes. So we couldn't have a dynamic service like Uber Poo. Uber Pool actually launched in Bangladesh back in 2019, but within 6 months, they had to discontinue the service. Ours is, we have like fixed routes, fixed pickup points. There are multiple pickup points, but we don't change the route for anyone. You have to choose from the available points. It's like the way we choose, our flights.
Yes.
You choose the airports.
Yes. Yeah,
so here you choose the pickup points.
Yes.
And that's how we provide the service.
And I'm assuming there was an app. It was a double-sided market.
Exactly.
So one side was catering towards the consumer or the person who's getting the ride, and the other side was the drivers. I'm assuming that's how it was.
You're correct.
And then your algorithm behind would pull the customers or the consumers, which are almost in the same vicinity along the route. And then you would get assigned seats, basically.
Yeah, the way we used to do it was we would never ask our customers to download the app or start using it. We would ask them to sign up, just sign up. But when you sign up, you provide your phone number, your office location or university location and your home location. Not necessarily the address, but the area. That's enough for us. And that we would manage that with a customer acquisition dashboard. And that dashboard would automatically club all the customers in different routes. And just because you signed up today doesn't mean you'll be able to start using the service from tomorrow, right? We need to have a service there. We need to have a route. So our dashboard, would club these people together and suggest us which routes we need to launch. And once we know that we have enough people and everything makes sense, we would contact you either via phone or email or even through the app as well if you already have downloaded the app, and that we are launching the service, and then you can start using
That's very ingenious. I love it. It's very interesting. So you kind of wanted to make sure that you hit some sort of a critical mass along the predetermined route or any route to be able to even launch the system properly for these people so they can sign up. What was the payment model for these people? Because I'm assuming when you open up a route and you're counting on these people to be on that route, then the viability of that route and the price point that you're offering is dependent on these people, actually the number of these people actually taking the ride. How did you make sure that you get these payments? Were they like a subscription base for months or something? How was that?
It was, it's very interesting because it's similar to what we did in the OSM class, but manually. We would think about these things all the time, how to efficiently manage this. So we had like two models. One is you can subscribe for the entire month. So you can book your seat for the entire month. And that was very lucrative for two reasons. Number one was that was cheaper than like daily rides. Number two, when you are going to your university or office every day, you want to make sure your seat is booked, right? You want to take a risk. In the morning you wake up and then you try to book a ride and there's no seat available. You don't want that situation. So that was something that was very popular among the customers. But at the same time, we had this, you can just, if there's a seat available, you can just go and book it until 15 minutes before the ride starts.
So the person picks you up.
Yeah, exactly. So we had both options. But most of our customers, they would just buy the monthly subscription.
Oh, so you managed to kind of strike that deal with people almost.
And then there was third model as well. So this model, the monthly subscription, it worked for office goers because they would go to office every day at the same time, right? Yes. But for university students, we have class at different times. There's no way for me to commit that I'll go to, I don't have class every day at 8 a.m. Maybe on Monday and Wednesday I have 8 a.m. and then the next I have like 11 a.m., right? So we would sell them credits, like you can buy 5,000 credits. And if you buy 5,000 credits, you can probably get 1,000 extra. That's bonus. And then you can use that to book rides whenever you want.
Yes, and as long as they're available.
Yeah. But that would give us, money in advance.
Yes, so, very interesting. Very interesting. Let's not forget, this was, again, only for women.
Yeah, initially it was only for women.
Initially it was only for women. What was the company called?
Shuttle, just Shuttle.
That's
and
great.
And our tagline was transportation for women. So we wanted to keep it very, very simple. We wanted to communicate the main value clearly.
Yes.
A lot of people focus on safety and all that, and it was very easy for us to focus on safety because that is what we were providing. But we thought just the fact that it's a women-only solution, it's so powerful that we didn't need to talk about other stuff like safety and everything.
I can imagine.
It worked like magic. I'm probably to tell you how we started. Once we decided that we were going to launch this service, the only thing that we did was I shared a Google form in my university groups, everywhere, that we are launching a women-only solution. If you were a woman and if you want a safe transportation solution, sign up. And we got more than 900 signups from there.
Wow!
And that is how we started.
Wow!
And for the first 2 weeks, we provided the service for free to everyone, just to build that trust, just to show them that this is real. 3 guys. They're not like randomly trying to, do random stuff. They're actually trying to add value and make something good. So it was completely free. We didn't have a lot of cars because we didn't have the money. It was a limited service, but if the seats were available, you can go home like for free.
Yes. And then that's fantastic, man. And then you expanded the service eventually to men as well. And
so we started back in 2018, but I think just before the pandemic, we started working with different companies. So there was an employee from Standard Chartered Bank, and she was really satisfied with the service. And she, for some reason, she thought it would be great for us to have a conversation with her HR team. She invited to her office, And once we have had the conversation with the procurement team,
Standard Chartered.
Chartered Bank, we realized that employees who want to provide transportation to their employees, they have to go through a lot of hassle. Managing drivers, managing cars. This is like something that you don't want to do when this is not your business. And small stuff like a driver is late is going to ruin your entire day because all the passengers are going to call you and everything. So we saw that there's a huge opportunity in the B2B market as well. And that is when we started working with all these B2B companies. And with the timing was perfect because when the pandemic started, our B2C service, the women only individual service, that was completely closed. I mean, because universities were closed, everything was closed. But surprisingly, the banks, government organizations, and some of the e-commerce companies, they were open during the pandemic, right? And these people, they were not price sensitive at all. They were willing to pay whatever it required to ensure their employees were commuting safely. Not only for the safety of the employees, but also to have the image that they're taking care of the employees. Not just randomly sending them to office. And we utilized that opportunity perfectly. Our monthly revenue doubled during the pandemic when all the other transportation companies were in hibernation.
Wow, that is fantastic. And then that stayed as well. So after the pandemic, you kept that service for the
we kept
B2B
the service
side,
and then we had the women only solution, and then we also launched eventually we launched a unisex individual service as well, because some people were okay with commuting with men, right? And we got a lot of sign-ups from male customers as well. They were constantly asking us, why are you not launching a service for us? So
what was so you were a co-founder when you guys kind of were past that initial phase of everything is extremely chaotic, I'm not sure if this is gonna work or whatever. After that phase, what was your day-to-day role in the company?
I want to talk about how it was initially.
Oh, tell me.
So initially when we started, I mean, we were just 5-6 people, right? The 3 co-founders and then 2-3 employees, but we had like incredible demand from day one because number one, we started with that free service. Number two, it was we got amazing response from the women customers, right? So, and we created this Facebook group, a community where our users could just come and share their feedback and just talk to us. We wanted to make sure that it seems like we are all in this together. We are trying to do this together. So I spent, every day at least 3 hours responding to just our customers.
Wow.
Having conversations. And it was not something that, we were responding from our personal profiles. So if someone had a bad experience, and people did have bad experience because when we initially started, we didn't even have an app. We didn't want to wait till we had the app. We wanted to just start providing the service, learn on the go, and based on that, the feedback that we get, we launch the app. That was the idea. There were times when, we just forgot to pick someone up. It happened as well. But we got the real feedback from the customers, right? And I was responding, not only me, my partner as well, Jawad. We were responding to each of these comments from our personal profiles. People were like...
From your personal profile.
People were rude when we fucked up, right? But we were directly, addressing those issues immediately, real time.
Jeez. And so part of your job was customer service, basically.
Part of my job was talking to customers either through Facebook, the community, or even me and my partner, we would at least talk to 10 to 15 customers per day on the phone as well. We would take the bookings as well. So we didn't have an app initially for the first 6 months, right? So people would call us and book rides. There were people for taking the bookings, but still we didn't have enough people. So there were times when we would take the booking ourselves. Interestingly, the initial office that we got, that we could only go to the office, it wouldn't open before 9 a.m., the office. So, but our service started at 6 a.m. because people had classes in the morning, right? So everyone, like the 10 people,
the whole team
would come to my house at 5 a.m. From 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. we'd work in my place. And then we all together would go to office and then work the entire day. The last shift would end at 8 p.m. I mean, it would start at 8 p.m. So it ended at around 10 p.m. And then we would come back at around 11. So those 7 to 9 months, I think,
insane.
I was just doing this like the entire time. It was all about just the operations. I mean, I was just
doing everything. Yeah, of course. Everything. Yeah. And you guys, how early were you profitable?
we were not profitable at all. We were never profitable until I decided to step down.
That's a different conversation. Okay, that is
I mean,
not a good look.
But it was an intentional decision.
No, I understand.
I mean, it's a path that you choose, right? We always had the option to choose the profitability path
or growth.
But we felt that at that point in time, we needed to. I mean, focus on growth was definitely a better option for us. That was a conscious decision that we made, and that is the reason we started raising investment and all that.
Yes, and Uber was unprofitable for years, until it managed to finally turn profitable. I understand that. That is fantastic. I just want to end this train of conversation, and then I want to have a flashback afterwards. What happened? Forbes 30 under 30. Yeah. When? How?
So I suddenly got a call, not a call actually, an email from Forbes that we were selected, and they're going to announce it in a month or so. No, they didn't say they would announce it. They said we were shortlisted. So we are finalists. They're considering us. They just wanted to know. They just had a few queries they wanted us to answer. I had no idea how usually for Forbes you get nominated, right? And you know who is nominating you. It's a process. But for us, we didn't know when we got the email. So we were quite surprised, and then we submitted the information that they needed, and within a month we got featured there and we got listed. But then we got to know that someone from UNDP actually nominated me and my partner.
Could you explain what UNDP is?
Yeah, I think UNDP is United Nations Development Program.
Exactly.
It's a huge organization in developing countries.
Yes.
So we were part of an incubator program from them that they ran back in 2019, and that was it. I mean, we didn't know that there would be a connection, but somehow they felt, we were, they just wanted to nominate us. And
that's fantastic.
Yeah. And to be honest, I feel we got lucky as well, because I genuinely believe when we got listed, there were other companies in Bangladesh that were other founders as well. That were doing incredible work, but because we had this women-centric angle in the business, I think that always helped us in every possible way.
I can imagine. Were you still with the company when this happened? Yeah.
Yeah. It was back in 2022. I worked. Okay. I actually stepped down 6 months before, in April.
Yes, I can imagine. And how did that change the dynamic of you working with the team, or the fame that Shuttle had? Did it help you? Was it interesting, or was it difficult to navigate? What happened after?
Are you talking about Forbes?
Yeah, Forbes. Okay.
Yeah. It didn't change anything internally in the team. It was exactly like before. And to be honest, I personally don't value these awards much. I respect the award. I'm really happy that I got listed, and I couldn't be more grateful. But I don't necessarily think just because someone got nominated or someone got listed for Forbes 30 under 30, he or she is better than other people, because it's always there are always 10 other people who are either equally qualified or even more qualified. It's at the end of the day, it comes to luck. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. So it's good to have some awards because it builds your credibility. But other than that, I don't personally think that it makes me a better founder or anything. As I was telling you, there were other founders who were doing even better job. They were growing the startup even faster. So internally, it didn't change anything. Externally, people started, thinking we were doing impactful work, and they were thinking that before as well. But it definitely added to the credibility.
A badge of credibility on top of what you guys were already doing, all the great work that you were doing. Now, you said entrepreneurship was always your dream, growing up, and I want to talk a little bit about that. Going flashback, going to the past, talking a little bit about that might be. I know you talked about your experience to your entire class, and for the folks that don't know, one of the most interesting things that happens at Stanford Business School when you come here for the MBA program is a program called Talk. And this talk is you get nominated, you sign up for a talk slot. And if you get selected for that talk slot, which is based on a lottery, then you get to have almost 30 to 45 minutes time with your entire class on a Wednesday evening. and you talk about your life or any topic that you want to talk about. And it's a very intimate, very authentic environment, often pretty vulnerable, and people share their life stories or things that they're passionate about in that talk with their classmates. It's a kind of a closed door policy. The conversations usually do not leave that room unless the talker or the person who's giving the talk consents to that and wants to talk about it outside. So that's how it works, and it's fantastic. You get to know your classmates a lot deeper on different levels that you would never probably get to know them. And we were lucky that we heard from Riyazat early on, a couple months ago actually, yeah. And then he signed up, he got he got the slot, and then he gave a talk. And in that talk, I got to learn a lot more about you. Tell us about that childhood. I know it was a little bit difficult, and you offered to talk about it also here on the podcast here. Like, how was it, and then where did this whole passion for entrepreneurship come from?
So I mean, so I had a very difficult childhood because I had some physical challenges when I was in grade two, and that changed my entire life. Like my hair turned gray immediately. I got really fat, and then I couldn't remember anything, like especially studies, right? And it was very difficult because when I went back to school, there was a gap. Like for a few weeks, I was sick and all that. I didn't go to school, and then once I started going back again, uh, everything changed. People were making fun of me, which is very natural, I would say.
You were 7, 8 years old.
I was 7 years old. I was in grade two, and you see someone, someone different, and you make fun of it. That's how it is. Like I would do the same as well if I were in my classmates' shoes as well. So and I couldn't just study anything. I couldn't remember anything. I ended up failing in 8 subjects in the final exam, and I was kicked out of the school. And yeah, the teachers told me that, I mean, I don't deserve to be in school. I didn't. One thing that I really hope that I would get support from the teachers, but that is something that I did not get. Not only that I didn't get the support from them, it was that they were probably bullying me more than the students, not intentionally, just because in Bangladesh, if you're not a good student, you are just treated differently. That's how it is.
Yes, I can imagine.
So that was very difficult.
Did this shift happen like very abruptly, like this, like hair
Yeah.
train gray, and then you kind of losing that kind of a memory, and then
Yeah.
feeling sick? Was that very abrupt?
Very abrupt, very abrupt. Like within 6 months, everything happened. So that was like a sudden change because my brother, who I used to look up to, for every single thing. He was my idol, and he would go to the same school every day, right? He was enjoying his life like to the fullest. He was having fun, and I knew that I was not good enough to go to the school anymore. And what made things even worse was that I was then sent to a school that I hated. It was a primary school. It didn't have the latest facilities and all that. So I had to adapt to a new environment. And then I was doing classes with kids younger than me. At that age, it hurt the ego. I was 7 years old, but then I was doing classes with 6 years olds.
But you were still struggling with
I was still struggling.
the
I was
health
still struggling. I was still
issues.
failing. By the way, I was still failing. It's very interesting. The way I passed the classes later on was I would fail in 7 or 8 subjects, 7 or 8 subjects in the first midterm. I would fail in 4 to 5 subjects in the second midterm, and in the final I would fail in probably one subject. And the teachers, they would just see the growth, from 7 or 8 subject to 5 subject to one subject. Oh, he's making progress. He should be promoted to the next class. And that was a trend like for 4 or 5 years.
For
And
4 or 5 years.
until I was in class 7 or 8. Once I was in 8, I think I started doing really well in class and in the exams as well.
I know it was a soul-crushing experience for you growing up. Obviously, I'm sure your parents were very supportive. Your older brother was very supportive. But in your talk, you told us a little bit about this one teacher
Yeah.
that came home, started tutoring you, and
Yeah.
then that kind of changed your world. And then you felt like, okay, someone beyond my family is taking ownership and has some hope in my future. Tell us a little bit more about that person.
Yeah, I mean, that one person actually had the single biggest, I mean, the most impact in my entire life, I would say. Um, that was 2 years after I failed in the school, right? So my mom, she found this home tutor, and he just from day one he just believed in me, and that changed everything. That was, I mean, when you see someone believe in you for the first time, I mean, it's an incredible feeling. And I would do anything in the world at that point in time to not let him down. And interestingly, he did not ask me to do a lot of things. He didn't have a lot of expectations. All he wanted me to do was improve my handwriting. It was very interesting. This student, he's failing in all the subjects, but this teacher is telling him, you just focus on your handwriting, make it better. But that was such an incredible approach, I would say, because when you have no confidence at all, the small wins, that gives you the confidence.
Exactly.
So
The small wins.
the small wins. The moment I started improving my handwriting, I started believing in myself. And I talked about it in my talk as well. Even now, even after I got to Stanford and everything, that was the biggest win of my entire life. I will never, ever, ever forget that moment. The fact that I felt like I could do it. You know,
Yes.
and that was a start. Once I knew that I could do this, I started feeling like I could probably do more, and slowly, gradually, things started changing, and that is something that still drives me. To be honest, right now I'm internally I'm at a space where I believe in myself 180%. I never
Yes.
doubt myself ever. And I think it would never happen if I did not have those experiences in the childhood. So I'm actually really grateful for all the experiences that I had, good or bad, because that those experiences made me who I am today. Internally, I think
Yes.
I'm internally I feel I'm at a very good space, mentally and everything, and because of all the experiences that I have.
It was character building for
Yeah.
you, truly character
Yeah.
building for you. Before we move on to your passion for entrepreneurship, is your handwriting any good now?
No, it's not. Unfortunately, it changed. People even cannot, cannot even read what I write, because it's so bad. But at that point in time, it improves drastically. So
I can
see,
imagine. My handwriting was never good.
yeah,
It was all right, but it was
yeah,
never good. And now I feel like the past maybe decade of not writing and
yeah,
typing and
exactly,
typing and typing has even deteriorated my handwriting even more.
exactly.
So whenever we have exams here, which is actually something pretty interesting that we're again having exam at this age, and I want to write, like my hand hurts, I can't read myself.
Exactly. Take a handwritten exam for ethics. I was legit scared.
I could fail just because of my
Yeah,
handwriting.
exactly. Same. Yeah.
Yeah, but tell me about your passion for entrepreneurship. When did that come to you?
Yeah, I already told you that, I used to look up to my brother. Like, I mean, I would just follow him blindly for everything. He was my idol, right? So my father, he was a banker, and he worked in different banks for more than 40 years. He joined, at the lowest level, but he ended up being the additional managing director of a big banks, one of the big banks in Bangladesh. So he was quite successful in his career, the way he succeeded in different roles. But he always had these regret that he did not start his own company. Some of his friends did, and they did quite well later on. So that was one regret that he had, and he shared this with me and my brother when we were kids, and that affected my brother's dreams quite a lot, I would say. He started thinking about entrepreneurship. Because he started thinking about entrepreneurship, I started thinking about entrepreneurship as well. So, and he would just talk about different ideas that he had with me for no reason. He would always think about the business ideas, random ideas, and he would just share them with me. I was a kid, right? I wouldn't understand anything, but he would always do this. We would have like conversations about different things that he wanted to do, and I just felt like I want to be like him. I want to do those things as well, and that is how my passion for entrepreneurship came. I knew that entrepreneurship is something that I wanted to do. I don't want to do anything else, and yeah, and luckily, I mean, I got lucky as well. I love this quote, and I always talk about it. When you truly want something, the whole universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. And the opportunity that I got from my company to start my own startup, I don't think that's a normal opportunity. it had to be at the right time, the right email, at the right, you know, everything had to match. Everything had to match, and it was like, yeah, I'm incredibly grateful.
Yes, and not only that, like you're fortunate to be in the right place, right time,
Exactly.
and be presented the right opportunity. But then later on, you had the grit, you had the commitment to be able to reap the benefits of it, go after it, and then convert it into something very, very valuable. And I want to talk about that. But before that, I just want to go back to the audience and thank you, quite frankly, for dialing in, watching the interview, or listening to the interview. This is something I do because I enjoy having conversations with my classmates here at Stanford GSB, and I want to kind of share it with you guys as well. I would really appreciate if you all subscribe to the channel, like it. I don't know, whatever that bell is, turn that bell on, leave comments, let me know what we have to do. The same way Riyazat listened to his customers and clients, I want to also listen to you, know how to make this podcast better. And obviously we have an Instagram channel, we also have a LinkedIn profile, so all that good stuff. Make sure that you're connected with us on all those different platforms. But yeah, back to your Riyazat. At some point, you decide to you decide to go after that passion, university, big company, starting Shuttle, being very successful, exciting years. You're growing this company from initially your apartment, and then you guys get an office. And I have seen pictures of the office, by the way. The team looks great. And you decide to apply to the business school.
Yeah.
How does that work? Why did you do that? When did you make that decision?
So I always wanted to come to business school because, because of all the childhood challenges that I faced and the way I was able to overcome them, just improving myself was something that I became really passionate about. Every single day, I don't care, where I am when I compare myself with my peers or my, people at Stanford or anywhere else. I just focus on my own growth. I just focus on being a better version of myself. That is probably one of my biggest values in life. I just I really enjoy the process of just doing something that helps me become a better person, either professionally or even just personally as well. So this was something that I was always considering because I never lived outside of Bangladesh. I wanted to be among the best and learn from the best. But then I actually took my GMAT back in 2017 first. I applied to a few business schools. I got into a few business schools, but I decided to start Shuttle instead because that is when we got the funding. So that was like the first time when I had to make a huge, decision because I also got like 100% scholarship from some of the universities.
Any of the American schools or not?
Yeah, American schools, but I couldn't apply to the top ones because I didn't even have 2 years of job experience. So usually the top schools, they require you to work for at least 2 years. But my father, he was really pushing me to go for my MBA back then. But then eventually I decided to focus on the company and just start working on it because I knew that I can always think about it later on, right? But the last 2 years, I mean, with Shuttle, the first 4 years were incredibly amazing. I enjoyed every single moment. But the last 2 years were mentally very difficult. Not because the business challenges. I mean, I think I was prepared for the business challenges. The funding issues, the failures, and everything. I think I was mentally, ready for things like that. But what I wasn't ready for was the was the was the moral challenges that I had to go through. Something I had no idea about. I mean, once you are in a position where you are leading people, I realized that you have to make decisions where there's no win-win. If someone wins, probably someone else loses, and it's very difficult to be morally correct all the time. And I also realized that I'm not the kind of person who is the most honest. I actually felt I couldn't live up to the expectations that I had of myself. I started understanding myself better. When things got difficult, I felt, there were times when I did not do the thing that I would normally do. So it was very challenging, but I didn't also have clear answers. I didn't know exactly how I wanted to address that, but I wasn't happy about the way I was, leading my life or making some decisions. So this was something that was keeping me awake at night as well. I was constantly thinking about how to go about this and how to address this. Um, so yeah, and at the same time, we onboarded someone from Uber. He joined the company as VP of strategy, and he had like immediate impact. After 3 months after he joined the company, for the first time I felt like this person can actually step up and replace me, and I never had this feeling before. Once you start your own company, no matter how amazing other people are, I think it's very difficult for you to find someone who you feel can actually replace you, because it's not about how it's not only about the caliber. There are like
Of
other
course.
things that come into play.
Yes. It's your baby. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's your baby.
it's your baby, and you need to have the same mentality, same kind of
Yeah.
a lot of things are important. So I just felt this person can replace me, and I also felt I needed. It was for me. It was probably the time to step down because I don't think I was mentally ready to lead the company anymore. I thought the company can benefit even more if they had a new leader.
Yes. And
So
you wanted to then, you were like, okay, so the business school that I had parked in 2017, now it could be viable, it could come
that
into the
not
picture.
so after I decided, I had to actually convince this new person to become the CEO, because it's not easy. It's not
Of
easy
course,
from
yeah.
when everything is chaos. It's very difficult to
The lead.
take lead in an organization like that. And then I had to convince my partners as well, and then I had to convince the board as well. So it was a journey, but eventually everything worked out. And then I started thinking about what I want to do next. So it was by then it was already after the first round deadline for the business schools.
So you had missed the round one.
I missed round one. I had I didn't do anything, but in September last year or October, I started studying for GMAT again because my previous GMAT score is expired.
Yes.
So I took my GMAT in December, and then
So last year, this time,
last year this time,
while
and then
preparing your application first.
I did not prepare for my application at all. I
Of
just took
course.
my GMAT, and then within 6 days after taking my GMAT, I applied to 12 business schools.
No way. Within
Yeah.
6
Within
days.
6 days, I applied to 12 business schools.
Like honestly, you had not done any work before that for the schools,
I was thinking about the applications and
but you
all
were
that.
not typing them out.
I wasn't typing them. I wasn't typing them. I was mentally preparing, but not like working on them. Like yeah,
In 6 days, you applied to 12 business schools.
exactly. And the reason I wanted to apply to all these business schools was because I have like when I applied, I had like around 8 years of work experience in total, right? And that is not ideal for business schools. You usually have 4 to 5 years. So I wasn't sure if I would be a good fit for some of the schools. And I also didn't have a traditional background, right? I was an entrepreneur, so I didn't know how I would be perceived. And number three, I thought this was my time to do business school. I didn't want to delay it a year or two anymore. So I made a decision to take this step and actually go somewhere. So that is the reason I
And the
applied to.
12 were in the US or across the world?
No, I applied to some schools in the UK as well, because my sister lives there. I wanted to live with her, if that was an option. I wanted to live with my niece,
Yeah.
So yeah, so 3 schools from the UK.
Could
and
you
9
name the
schools,
schools that you applied to?
in the UK or in the US?
Yeah, just all of them. Yeah. Do you
Yeah, I mean,
remember?
I don't want to talk about it in the if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah. Don't worry. Don't worry. So the schools that you apply to the US, in 6 days you write the application. I know that I heard that you had a very interesting statistic of how many hours you can stay awake.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think I can easily stay awake for 72 hours without like losing my mind. Yeah, I mean, and I actually did this last week as well. Not last week. I mean,
Already this week, yeah.
this week I actually slept only 4 hours in the last 80 hours before last night.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you pulled in like almost a 3 all-nighters back to back
Three
for your
all-nighters back to
MBA
back.
application.
Yes.
And you still submitted the application past due.
Some of them. So
The Stanford one.
my Stanford one, I think I was 3 minutes late. Yeah, but that is one of the application that I didn't want to be, I don't want to be late for. But then I was just there,
I'm assuming the fact that you applied to 12 business schools in 6 days meant that you didn't use any admissions consultants, or did you use them? Did they help?
I did not use a traditional admission consultant, but I subscribed to this MBA. Sorry, what's the name? ApplicantLab.
Oh, ApplicantLab. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you know about this.
I also didn't get any admissions consultants.
Yeah.
I only used ApplicantLab.
And I mean,
it was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, the CEO of the company, Maria.
Yes.
She played such an important role in my application, because initially when I was making a decision if I should apply to business school this year or not, she was the one who convinced me that this was the year that I had to apply to, because I already had 8 years of experience, and she was very concerned that if I take it one more year, I would not get into any universities at all. So I'm actually extremely grateful to her, and she would always reply back within like 24 hours.
Yes, I had that experience with her as well.
Yeah. And I wouldn't get into these universities if I did not get the help from her. And the entire like the website. I want to talk about this because I'm genuinely incredibly grateful. And
yes.
Every single person I talk to, I just recommend them ApplicantLab.
Likewise.
Because,
go ahead, talk as much as you want about them.
Yeah, because
and this is not sponsored, by the way, for none of us.
Yeah, because the reason I could apply to 12 schools was because I had information about all these schools in one single platform. Otherwise, I would never be able to apply to all these schools. You maybe if you work with the consultant, you can probably apply to 1 or 2 schools, specific schools that you have in mind. But I think that ApplicantLab made my life so much easier, and I feel like I wasn't missing anything by not talking to someone physically for my application.
But how did you manage to crunch all the information for these schools? I know it's all on the ApplicantLab, but still there was a lot of reflection going on, thinking going on. I spent months on my application.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about the application, to be honest, since I started thinking about business schools, when I was taking my GMAT as well. It's just that I wasn't writing anything, but I was thinking about everything, And also, even though I applied to those schools, to be honest, the questions are quite similar, right?
Of course, some of them.
Once you apply to 3 to 4 schools, it is easy to apply to other schools as well.
You get a hang of it, yeah, I can imagine. And then did you get to all the schools that you wanted to get in? Obviously, you got into the dream school, which is Stanford. We have to say that here. But
I got into 10 schools.
Out of 12?
Yeah.
That's an insane statistic. And also makes the decision a little bit difficult, doesn't it? Or not?
Not at all. I actually paid my admission deposit the day I got the day after I got the call from Stanford. Because I was concerned that they can still withdraw the offer.
Yes.
I didn't want to take that chance. Stanford was my dream school, and I didn't even think about anything else once I got the call from Stanford.
So the 9 other schools did not even put any hesitation in your heart.
I wasn't considering any other school at all.
Any big names among them?
There were a few like Kellogg, Haas, and what are some other schools? Oxford, Cambridge, London Business Schools, things like that.
Yeah, but Stanford was the place for you. And how does it feel, man, to be here? What has been the most interesting experience you've had here? What has been the thing that you did not expect that you would see here and you're seeing it here? What is it like for you?
It feels like a dream. I had high expectations from Stanford, but Stanford exceeded my expectation. And in life, it never happens, right?
Almost never, yeah.
Almost never happens. Yeah. It is just incredible. I mean, the people I met. I mean, I lived all my life in Bangladesh, right? One of my concerns was, coming here, if I would be able to gel with people from different countries.
Yes.
But what I found was that people are more similar to me than different.
Yes.
And I met so many good friends, people like you, and
thank you.
And it was extremely easy for me to I don't feel out of place at all. I feel at home, and the campus, I haven't seen anything like this before in my life. It's so beautiful, so peaceful.
It is.
And I feel invincible, to be honest. I feel I can do whatever I want. I have that confidence just because I came here.
You do.
For no reason.
You do. You can do whatever you want. Looking ahead, I know that your passion is entrepreneurship still, yeah. And once you get a taste of that, it's very difficult to go back and do something else. And I hope you can be successful. But like, just as a friend, as an outside party to your life, when I look at your life journey and the things you have done, I'm always wondering, like, does Riyazat also consider maybe a startup or any sort of company in education? Because that's something that he suffered from a lot.
Yeah.
And that he understands the challenges of people who are dealing with problems with learning and education, disabilities, and all that stuff. Have you ever thought about anything in education?
I thought about it, but not as a business. My intention is to do something that will help kids like me who had similar who face similar challenges in life. I don't know what the solution could be, but that is something that I've thought about quite a lot. But at this moment, I couldn't come up with something that would really be helpful. But at one point in time, I definitely want to give back, and maybe in places like Bangladesh where this happens, you know.
I can imagine.
But at this point in time, I'm not exactly sure what that could be. But that is something that is definitely in my mind.
Yes, Ria said, I have a bunch of questions here. I was wondering if I could ask any of the questions that I have here. Actually, one of them is pretty interesting. If Shuttle did not exist, how different would transportation look in Bangladesh today?
So first of all, Shuttle was not a big company that would change the transportation system in Bangladesh. At our peak, we were providing 3,000 rides a day, which is not like something that would change even in Dhaka city, right? So I wouldn't say we had that scale to completely change the transportation system in Bangladesh, but I would say what we wanted to do, or what we still want to do, is like make it safer for people to commute, especially women. It's not about just helping them, letting them commute to one place to another. It's also giving them the freedom to do whatever they want to do, right?
Yes.
I mean, you don't want someone else to accompany you because you don't feel safe. That is
Yes.
not, and that affects
Yes.
you in a lot of ways,
Of
not only
course.
just the commute. So if you ask me about just one thing, I would just say I want to. My goal was to make sure our customers, they can reach their true potential,
Yes.
and have this feeling that they can do whatever they want.
Absolutely.
It's beyond just transportation.
Freedom of mobility and having safe mobility, I think, is one of the cornerstones of
Yeah.
empowerment and
Exactly.
enablement. I think the answer to this question, if I want to answer this question, is like, as small as Shuttle is, it brought this issue top of mind in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
It showed that it's a very serious problem. It needs to be addressed, and it carved it out. Yeah, it just carved it out, put it out there. This is an issue. We need to solve it. A part of that solution comes from these companies, which are ride sharing or whatever. A part of the solution is also cultural. Yeah, the people around, the communities around, they also have a role. And then this is one of the major impacts I think you guys had, and I really congratulate you for that. I have one more question from my list here, which is pretty interesting. If Shuttle expanded internationally, which country would you choose first and why?
Yeah, I mean, we thought about this before. I mean, right now we are not focusing on expanding. We are focusing on in Bangladesh, um, but we always thought a solution like Shuttle can be implemented in other developing countries and densely populated cities as well. Countries like India, Pakistan, African countries, anywhere where public transportation system is not that efficient, and more importantly, the countries are densely populated, so that you get a lot of people in small areas.
Yes. You get a critical mass pretty quickly.
Yeah.
No, very interesting. I really appreciate your time, Riyazat. This was fantastic. Even if we just wanted to talk about your 7-8 years with Shuttle, we needed like maybe 3 more interviews. Yeah, it's a lot to unpack there. Maybe we can have a second edition of this interview, and then we talk a little bit more about that, because I think there was a lot that the audience here could learn from a real entrepreneur. Someone has been down in the trenches, done it, gotten their hands dirty. So we could be talking about all of that a lot. We don't have time for that today, at least. But still, I want to give you the chance to say anything that you wanted to say that you didn't get the chance to say. Is there anything in your mind that you wanted to share with the audience? Be it business school, be it childhood, be it entrepreneurship, be it life development, personal development, anything that you want to share.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say one thing that I always focus on right now, I've been focusing on for the last few years, is just be a positive person, just be open to new things, and just keep an open mind. And yeah, I think that just helps you navigate life in general.
Riyazat, as I always say at the end of these interviews, an Odyssey starts at home. You go through a journey, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of challenges. You fight the sea, you fight yourself, you fight the demons, you fight the beasts. You learn a lot, and at some point, you might have a homecoming, one way or the other. You're in the middle of that journey now, yeah. And I hope you have a very successful and interesting homecoming at some point, literal or figurative. Thank you very much for spending this time with me. I learned a lot from you, and I hope we can continue this friendship way beyond the business school.
I had an amazing time talking about Shuttle, my personal journey. Thank you so much, man, for inviting me. And it's always a pleasure talking to you, especially, exchanging Instagram reels.
That's the best part of it, isn't it?
It is.
It is. Thank you. Man, I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man.